here of all the royal residences. Curiously, locally we don't have Sandringham, but how did you come by this collection?
It was handed down to my step-grandfather by the chief librarian of Windsor Castle.
And was he Mr. Woodward?
Yeah, that's correct. Mr.
Right.
Woodward was appointed there in 1860, and the scrapbook and the invitations were handed down by him, a member of his family, through down to my family.
Right. He seems to have been invited to all the great events too, so he obviously had quite a nice life. It's a wonderful picture of life in Victorian England, isn't it, with these wonderfully grand invitations. But although those are very interesting, really the main thing is this fantastic album here.
Windsor Castle has held a dedicated librarianship since the middle of the 19th century. The post was created to organise the royal household's correspondence and the working library used by the monarch and senior staff. A librarian's daily access to incoming letters made personal scrapbooks of this kind almost inevitable. The autograph collecting fashion that the album reflects was itself a Victorian phenomenon. In the 1850s, gentlemen pasted up albums of historical signatures the way the next generation collected postage stamps.
To him in pencil, just asking him to make sure that he could, it says, "Dear Mr. Woodward, send over those drawings," and then it's rather difficult to read which drawings, which is rather maddening, isn't it? But you can imagine her rather imperiously saying, "Send over those drawings, Woodward." And here it is, November the 17th, 1864. On this occasion, she's asking for a volume of somebody's English history. It conjures up a wonderful picture of Queen Victoria sitting in her ivory tower, sending for Woodward and his and all his books. He was obviously clearly a friend of the royal family, because here you've got this absolutely delightful sketch where it says here, Princess Louise and Miss Bower. In the distance, B.B. Woodward and Mr. Roland. So this is actually Woodward in one of the drawings.
Yes, it is.
Their album is just full of the most extraordinary things, and it would take weeks to go through it all. You've got here a cheque signed by the Duke of Wellington. Here you've got a letter from John Ruskin, the great man of letters and the arbiter of taste in Victorian times about art. Sadly, the content of the letters isn't wildly exciting. It would be nice if he was making groundbreaking comments, but nevertheless it's still very interesting.
I suppose there's a limit to what you can say to a librarian, though, isn't there?
Well, I suspect that's right, and I think it's a very good comment. I think the relationship with these people was a professional relationship rather than an intimate relationship. In other words, he wasn't writing as a friend to dear Woodward. He was writing, you're quite right, probably more instructive or demanding, rather like Queen Victoria's.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is extremely rare. Florence Nightingale. You just don't get Nightingale autographs like this. And so it goes on. I mean, the whole thing is absolutely wonderful. And once again, there's another of the great Victorian figures, Darwin. Fantastic. And, as I say, it would take weeks to go through them all, but it's a real treat to see them. It's very difficult until one has a chance to go right through the whole lot to put a value on it. And at the end of the day, I suspect, because they're clipped out and pasted in, the value of some of the letters has diminished a bit. But I can imagine, with a bit of research, it would be worth somewhere between £5,000 and £10,000 for the collection. The drawing alone is worth probably 700 or 800. So, jolly nice thing to have.
My father served with Captain Scott in Discovery, as it was then, SS Discovery, on her first voyage to Antarctica and maiden voyage. He also went the second time in Terra Nova because...
Did he really?
He did, yes.
That's extraordinary. Here we have a book bound in sailcloth.
Oh, yes.
And this is your father's log of his time with
That's
Captain
right.
Scott on the Discovery.
Yes.
And I suspect this is Discovery's sailcloth,
I would presume he acquired it somehow.
RS Discovery was launched at Dundee in March 1901, the last three-masted wooden ship built in Britain, and the first vessel designed from the keel up for Antarctic research. Her crew of 47 sailed that August on the National Antarctic Expedition, jointly funded by the Royal Society and the Royal Geographical Society. The seaman whose handwriting fills this log was one of the men selected for the southern sledge journeys, the same depots the team would use 3 years later when Scott returned south in Terra Nova. Discovery herself sits today on the Dundee waterfront, restored as the city's principal museum.
And then here, a very attractive little watercolour done by one of his shipmates, I think, probably.
Yes.
Discovery clearing the pack ice, done in the winter of 1902. Things like this are increasingly sought after and of considerable value now. Now, the other thing here is the Antarctic medal, if I can just put it there. And this has got 2 bars for Discovery and Terra Nova.
Yeah.
Now, I believe that actually there are only 25 barred Antarctic medals of the Great Age, polar medals of the Great Age.
Oh.
The most anybody ever got was 4, which was Ernest Joyce.
Yes.
I finally want to talk about this glorious watercolour by Edward Wilson, who died with Scott soon after the polar journey. It was used, in fact, as one of the plates, one of the illustrations of a work done soon after the expedition returned.
I've never been to Antarctica, but it looks so realistic, the picture.
Yes, it does. You can feel the freezing winds, can't you? I suppose we must talk slightly about values. I mean, had you any idea? Have you got them insured at all?
No, not at all.
This, I think, probably we're looking in the region of about £10,000 to £12,000.
Good heavens.
The medal, I think, probably be about 8 to 10,000, something of that order. And that could go higher because it's so unusual to get these 2 bars from the 2 great expeditions. And finally, this marvellous Wilson watercolour, which I think probably might command about £7,000 at auction, something like that.
Monetary, I couldn't care less, neither do the family. Historically.
This video is brought to you by Velco, the antique identifier app. Snap a photo of any item and Velco gives you an instant identification and a value estimate from its database of millions of antiques and collectibles. Available free on the App Store and Google Play. Now back to the appraisals.
Pedigree of the Right Honourable Henry Fyne Clinton, Earl of Lincoln. So please tell me, why have you got it?
My family has a stable of titles, but the really interesting one is my eldest son, who is Lord Markham Clinton, Nottinghamshire.
Now tell me, is that Clinton, has that got anything to do with any other Clinton?
Yes, we believe it's the lineage of former...
Heralds at the College of Arms in London produced manuscript pedigrees of this scale only for families paying for them, typically around the time of a major inheritance or a noble marriage. The college's earliest surviving rolls date from the late 13th century. The 18th century saw a vogue for re-illuminating older pedigrees in colour, with full coats of arms quartered down the descent line. The Clinton barony, the album traces dates from 1299, one of the oldest baronies in the English peerage that is still extant today.
Yes. But this one, which is on vellum, is absolutely the most elaborate. And I have to say that goodness knows who you're not related to, quite frankly.
Exactly. And I think when one looks back through the ages, you will see the Clinton family were very, very successful, having heirs in Warwickshire, Nottinghamshire, all the way down to London.
This one is just absolutely incredible. This is the Clinton quarters again.
Yes.
And with the garter there, and these 2 wonderfully heraldic dogs there, and this strange piece of Latin here, loyalty, na hunt. Now, what does that mean? Is it loyalty, not honesty? Because I think it would go very well.
I believe it means that, and it's very interesting because King Richard befriended King Connacht of Ireland, and he attended his coronation. In fact, Clinton carried the crown. Now, as a result of that friendship, Baron Clinton went to Ireland
Right.
And the extraordinary thing about...
Is it an Irish title? Are you saying...
No,
Clinton?
they spread out.
Right.
They spread out,
Right.
and there were lots of branches of the family. The Clintons actually fought against the English. Baron Clinton was killed, and his sons fled to America.
Right.
But at the same time, the Clinton family were entrenched in England, in lots of noble families, all the way down through to 1862.
That's incredible. Did you know you were related to a president of the United States?
No, I didn't.
Well, you do now. I think your grandpa has actually sort of confessed to this hands across the sea business. Yes. Look at this lovely binding, early 18th century again. Priceless. But I think if one had to put an amount of money on it, for a piece or a work of art like this, I could quite easily see it going for £10,000 or £15,000. It's just wonderful.
But we wouldn't sell it.
No.
So when I saw you earlier, and you handed me this card which said farewell dinner, and to be honest, it looks like someone's eaten their dinner off it. But then two things got my attention.
The 1907 British Antarctic expedition was Shackleton's first as leader, funded by the Glasgow industrialist William Beardmore. From Cape Royds, in January 1909, Shackleton and 3 men reached 88 degrees 23 minutes south, 97 nautical miles short of the South Pole. The hut at Cape Royds still stands today, preserved by the Antarctic Heritage Trust.
So when you come to a valuation of something like this, I think £1,000 to £2,000.
Yeah.
For that.
Okay.
Combined, £10,000 to £20,000.
Here is a collection, a most fabulous collection of Maria Callas, fabulous photographs and letters. Why Maria Callas? Why not Sutherland? Why not Nellie Melba?
Well, my mum gave me a recording of the Barber of Seville back when I was 10 or 11 or something, and the voice just amazed me. And I think I've always started collecting her ever since. I have friends who worked with her.
But this is a very sophisticated collection.
Maria Callas first appeared at Covent Garden in 1952, returning across the 1950s and into the early 1960s. Angus MacBean, the photographer whose name keeps recurring as the appraiser turns over the prints, was the leading theatrical portraitist in post-war Britain and worked extensively for the Royal Opera House through that period. The earliest of the letters in this collection is dated 1949, which predates her London debut by 3 years and her marriage to the Italian industrialist Giovanni Meneghini by a matter of months. By the time of the last letter, dated 1975, she had effectively stopped singing in public and was living quietly in a Paris apartment on Avenue Georges Mandel.
Before she got married, where she is telling him how much she's in love and that she desperately needs her birth certificate to get married in Italy, and it confirms her full name, her parents' names,
Yes.
her real date of birth,
Yes.
and you know how happy she is, etc., etc.
But you see, I mean, that to me is more exciting, really.
It's unpublished too, you know, so
well,
never been seen.
That's even better.
And
now this one just goes on for pages.
I know. Well,
Dearest Leo, I've received
Yes.
your very dear letter. What's that about?
Well, Leo was her godfather, whom she confided in the 60s through the 70s, and here in 1975 she's bemoaning the loss of the voice, that she may have to go back and sing, that De Stefano loved her but that they couldn't get married.
It goes on for pages and pages and pages. I mean, if you were text messaging this, I mean, it would go in sort of 2 lines or something, wouldn't it? But this is very much, very much more important. So, how many items have you got altogether?
I guess maybe 70 or 80 signed photographs of varying sizes and maybe 20 letters.
Well, you see, I
Totally.
think 20 letters are very, very rare. Well, autographically, theoretically, she shouldn't be rare because she is an opera singer and would give all these things to her friends. But people are incredibly excited by Maria Callas.
I think she wasn't so rare. It's just that the demand exceeds the generous supply, and very much so.
That's about the size of it.
Not going
isn't it?
away.
And certainly in America, she's very hot.
Oh yeah, everywhere.
And do you think in Australia she's very hot too?
Absolutely.
And England too is very, very keen on her as well, and all her recordings.
And I was fortunate to see her in the Festival Hall in London in 1974.
Yes.
Not the voice it was, but
even so,
it
it
all
was
came
still
across,
there. Yes,
you
and I
know?
think that's wonderful. Now look, how long has this collection taken?
20 years, I guess.
How much have you paid for it all?
Oh, thousands, I guess.
I should think you have. I would say that you've got Australian, the best part of $250,000 Australian dollars.
Oh, good grief.
Which is something like 100 to 125,000 pounds.
Wow. You sure?
It's a fantastic collection and wonderful to see it. Thank you for bringing it in.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss the next. And there are plenty more incredible appraisals waiting for you on the channel. Go check them out.